Okay, so let me tell you about my diagnosis with ADHD. First of all, I had no idea I had ADHD at all, and I had a real memory problem. Now, I said to my wife one day, I want to go and see this particular comedian. I want you to put it on my bucket list. And she said, "You've been to see him." And I thought, what? She goes, "Yeah, I took you to see him on your 50th. And I still today have no recollection. I'm now 62. Now, the thing is, I thought, well, this is a bit odd, but also there were other things happening to me. Like when I was a teacher, I had to give up because I realised I just couldn't remember kids' names like I used to. But this was way before this diagnosis. And then even in the office, somebody would ring me up and I'd say, "Oh, you need to talk to X, Y, etc." And they'd say, "Well, I've actually been dealing with you." So I definitely have a memory problem, which is still undiagnosed, by the way. It's not dementia, because when someone gives me a jolt, I can recall memory. Now, I went to have a brain test for this. So I had a brain scan and I went to see a specialist to check my memory. And she checked my memory. Now, the thing is, because I study neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, to master practitioner level, when she was giving me these tests for memory, I could work it out. So if you had 3 boats with all sorts of different objects in there, all different captains with different clothes, I would go through a story in my head as she was saying it. And so I could recall and give about that feedback. But after I walked out, I couldn't remember anything. However, at the end of it, she says, "I don't think you've got memory issues. I think you have ADHD." And I just thought, nah. I left there. I spoke to my wife and she said, "Yeah, it makes sense." I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, you're always not finishing things." Well, she uses the term, "You're always taking off before you've landed." And I thought, yes. And even now, I like to keep changing my environment. I remember back when I was a designer, when I was stuck in a desk, I would just get up and walk around because I found it so frustrating staying in one place. So it actually does make sense now. Well, it did shortly after she had diagnosed it, but it didn't until my wife sort of explained how I am. Because often the people who know you best are the people you have intimate relationships to, not necessarily yourself. And so, but this became quite funny because I rang up for life insurance. The chap on the other end, he said, "Oh, I'm ever so sorry to hear about your special needs." And I go, "What special needs?" She goes, "Well, you've got down here on your notes that you've got ADHD. Well, I have a sense of humour. I just found it quite funny. But it was really interesting to hear that this woman was a proper specialist and she put it down on my notes. So I suppose I've officially got ADHD. So that's how I got diagnosed with ADHD. Tell me about your diagnosis, how you got to discover that you have ADHD. I'd be interested to know. Take care. Bye.